from Hollywood, I'm Martin Grove, welcoming you to our Screendollars podcast, Box Office Autopsy. Right now, we'll look at the movie marketplace and analyze how things are going and where they're going, sharing some opinions from my perspective after decades of talking about Hollywood on CNN, Entertainment Tonight, and as a Hollywood Reporter columnist. Paramount kept exhibitors smiling again this weekend as its R-rated horror thriller Smile held on to first place, despite having an animated Sony Crocodile snapping at its box office heels. The weekend's otherwise new arrival, Amsterdam, turned out to be an unpopular destination for moviegoers. The period piece drama from Disney 20th Century and New Regency reportedly cost $80 million to produce. On today's Box Office Autopsy, we'll check out the openings of Lyle, Crocodile, and Amsterdam. Later, in our Oscar Outlook Spotlight, we'll focus on the Academy's newest problem. After banning Will Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years, he's back again as a potential lead actor nominee for the slavery drama Emancipation. But we start today with Smile, which once again kept the multiplexes humming with the sound of horror fans screaming. Smile topped the chart again in weekend 2 with $17.6 million at 3,659 theaters, down just 22% from its killer opening a week earlier to $22.6 million. Horror movies typically slide 60% or more in their second weekends, so this is overperforming at its best, putting exhibitors in holdover heaven. The film's domestic cume is now $49.9 million, and it will be a money-maker for Paramount since it reportedly cost just $17 million to produce. Audiences on Rotten Tomatoes are 79% on Smile, which means favorable word of mouth. Sony's PG animated live-action family film Lyle, Crocodile opened second to $11.5 million at 4,350 theaters. Lyle, which reportedly cost $50 million to produce, hadn't been tracking well, and all demos were below norm for first choice. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes are just 68%, but audiences love it at 95%, which typically means positive word of mouth. But that certainly didn't kick in enough to help opening weekend ticket sales. Hollywood handicappers started out projecting 15 to 20 million, but then scaled that back to 11 to 12 million, exactly where it wound up. Exhibitors were way off base with $16 to $18 million. This sneak peek should help you decide if you want to see it or skip it.
This is my crocodile, Lyle. Please take good care of him.
Oh. Time to wake up. Come on. He's not dangerous. He's a crocodile.
He's just lonely like me. Hey, you awake yet?
He can't talk, but he can sing.
At the top of the world tonight, when no one ever has to hide.
Everybody get out of here! There's a crocodile in the house!
There is treasure you can find. Someone behind.
This could not be happening. We have a crocodile living in our attic.
That was totally awesome!
Looking ahead, ComScore's Paul Garabedian said Sunday morning that with a 4.5-star family post-track exit poll rating and the Rotten Tomatoes audience score of 95%, Lyle should, quote, enjoy long-term playability in the weeks to come, unquote. Disney 20th Century and New Regency's R-rated dark comedy Amsterdam was going nowhere on the tracking, and it did the same at the box office, opening third to $6.5 million at 3,005 theaters. It reportedly cost $80 million to produce, a wildly expensive budget for a small director-driven film that was hoping for awards consideration, which now seems unlikely given its opening. Director David O. Russell was an Oscar nominee in 2013 for directing Silver Linings Playbook, which landed 8 Oscar noms, including Best Picture and Directing, with a lead actress win for Jennifer Lawrence. Amsterdam's ensemble cast boasts the star power of Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David Washington as 3 friends who, in the 1930s, witness a murder they're framed for, after which they uncover a totally outrageous plot. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes are a grim 33%, and audiences are a soft 62%. Media pundits started out anticipating a $15 to $20 million opening, but cut that back to $10 to $12 million, which was still too high. Exhibitors really missed the ball with $11 to $14 million. This scene should help you decide if you want to visit Amsterdam.
How can I know this is you really in the picture?
Yes, sir. So, well, I'm the doctor. She's the nurse. He's the attorney. We all met in Belgium, which, if you recall, is where we met for the first time.
As well as Washington last summer at the BEF March.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I can remember quite clearly. You did something that... You sang a song, I believe.
Which one, sir?
Well, that's for you to remember. I've met thousands of people. You just met me twice, so you should remember the song. I'd like you to sing it now, then I'll know it's you.
Sing a song.
Did you ever see a dream? Walking.
Oh, I did. Yes.
Did you ever hear a dream?
See, right, and then I did.
No, that's not it.
Looking ahead, there's finally something sizzling on the tracking, and it's Universal, Blumhouse, and Miramax's R-rated Halloween Ends, opening next weekend. They say all good things must come to an end, but Ends will be bringing something bad to an end. The studio's suicidal late summer to mid-fall movie drought. Ends is the first half of an October box office recovery that also stars Warner Brothers and DC's Black Adam, opening October 21st. Ends is averaging 12 points over norm on first choice tracking, while Adam's averaging 13 points over norm. They'll pack a double box office punch that will help make up for those chilly early October weekends. Media pundits started out projecting 25 to 30 million for Ends at about 3,500 theaters, but they've already raised it to 40 to 45 million given its tracking strength. Those numbers could easily get another boost by opening day. A year ago, Halloween Kills hit theaters October 15th with 49.4 million, and that was during much more difficult pandemic times. It did $92 million domestic and $131.6 million worldwide. Way back in 2018, director David Gordon Green's new take on Halloween opened October 19th to an amazing $76.2 million. The 2018 film, which continued the 1978 original storyline, did almost $160 million domestic and $255.6 million worldwide. Here's an inside look at the making of Halloween Ends to help you decide if it belongs on your must-see list.
Violent, brutal. Fans are gonna lose their minds. Some say I'm the hero, and others say I provoked him. The 2018 movie and kills were about a woman who was prepared for Michael every day of her life. This is a movie where she's actually trying to move on. I've said goodbye to my boogeyman. New beginnings lay ahead. And then Michael comes back. This time, he's more dangerous. There is a battle. You came here to kill me, so do it. A final reckoning. It's crazy intense.
Also on the horizon is Universal Working Title and Smokehouse Pictures' PG-13 rom-com Ticket to Paradise, opening October 21st. It's clear from the tracking that Ticket's not going to take business away from that weekend's big-ticket movie, Warner Brothers and DC's Black Adam. Directed by Al Parker, who directed Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, Ticket stars George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Despite that star power, its average first choice tracking 2 weeks out is just equal to norm. Adult women are the only demo eager to see it, and they're twice norm. Younger women are equal to norm, and men don't care at all. It's the kind of film that would be helped by good reviews, but the critics are just 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, it's still early. By the time Ticket opens and its marketing campaign is in high gear, those scores could get a boost. Here's a scene that sets up the strained relationship between Clooney and Roberts, a divorced couple flying to Bali to try to keep their daughter from marrying and following in their footsteps.
Excuse me, ma'am. I think your things are in my seat.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me.
You speak English.
Or you're still doing the Italian tourist bit. Excuse me, ma'am. I need to sit somewhere else.
I'm sorry, it's a full flight.
We used to be married.
The worst 19 years of my life.
We were only married for 5.
I'm counting the recovery.
I can't sit there.
There's nothing I can do.
Well,
I'll swap with you, dear. Just remember, in case we go down.
Oh.
You owe me one.
I told you I was going to go get her.
In 4 days' time.
Our daughter's going to marry a guy she just met millions of miles from home.
Excuse me, did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours?
Champagne.
Oh, 2, please.
Just leave the bottle. Thank you.
Time now to power up our Oscar Outlook spotlight to focus on the Academy's newest problem. After banning Will Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years for smacking Chris Rock on stage last April, Smith is unexpectedly once again a potential lead actor nominee. Apple TV Plus just upset the Oscar apple cart by putting Smith's Civil War slavery drama Emancipation into the race. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, who directed Training Day, it stars Smith as a horrifically abused runaway slave. Emancipation will open in theaters December 2nd to qualify, and will start streaming December 9th. It wasn't expected to surface until 2023, when Smith's assault on Rock would be less fresh in mind. The Academy leadership at the time, not as smart as today's team, handled Smith's poor behavior poorly. He resigned from the Academy before they could throw him out. they banned him from attending the Oscars for the next decade. Unfortunately, they didn't specify what to do if he were nominated again or won for a future film. After the news that Smith is now a potential lead actor nominee, reporters found widespread distaste among Academy members for his candidacy, although they said they'd consider rewarding the film itself. Actually, that's also a problem, since Smith is one of its 4 producers. To some extent, Apple was in a difficult spot because it paid about $130 million to acquire Emancipation in a bidding war at Cannes in June 2020. And it needs to finally stream it. Putting it into next year's Oscar race wasn't a good option for Apple, since it's launching Martin Scorsese's crime drama Killers of the Flower Moon, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, in 2023. Flowers is a Best Picture frontrunner from the get-go. Oscar's Best Picture race is already standing room only, so Emancipation's prospects aren't exactly bullish, especially with the baggage of a producer and lead actor who just knocked Oscar for a loop. Here's an alphabetical list of 10 films with the best Best Picture buzz. Babylon from Paramount. The Banshees of Inisherin from Searchlight. Empire of Light from Searchlight. Everything Everywhere All at Once from A24. The Fabelmans from Universal and Amblin. She Said from Universal Annapurna Pictures and Plan B Entertainment. Tar from Focus Features. Top Gun Maverick from Paramount and Skydance Media. The Woman King from Sony and TriStar. And Women Talking from United Artists Releasing, Orion Pictures, and Plan B. And here are alphabetically 10 leading hopefuls. Armageddon Time from Focus. Avatar: The Way of Water from Disney and 20th Century. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever from Disney and Marvel. Bones and All from United Artists Releasing and MGM. Elvis from Warner Brothers. Empire of Light from Searchlight. The Sun from Sony Pictures Classics. The Whale from A24. Till from United Artists Releasing, MGM, and Orion. And Triangle of Sadness from Neon. As for lead actor, Smith faces hand-to-hand combat for the 5 available noms from, alphabetically, these 10 frontrunners. Austin Butler for Elvis. Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick. Adam Driver for White Noise from Netflix. Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin. Brendan Fraser for The Whale. Tom Hanks for A Man Called Otto from Sony and Playtone. Hugh Jackman for The Sun. Bill Nighy for Living from Sony Pictures Classics. Brad Pitt for Babylon. And Sam Worthington for Avatar: The Way of Water. And that's it for today's Box Office Autopsy. We'll be back next week to see how Halloween Ends begins. And as always, in our Oscar Outlook feature, we'll be keeping an eye on the latest awards season activity. So please join us again then, and thanks very much for listening. Time now for our film flashback look at what was happening in Hollywood right around now, way back then. Let's set today's time travel dial for October 11th, 1944. Otto Preminger produced and directed the classic 1944 film noir Laura. But if 20th Century Fox chief Darryl Zanuck had had his way, Preminger would never have directed anything for the studio. Zanuck and Preminger got into a shouting match 6 years earlier while filming the drama Kidnapped, after which Zanuck changed the locks on Preminger's office, moved his parking space to a distant corner of the Fox lot, and fired him as the movie's director. With Laura, which premiered in New York October 11th, 1944, Zanuck let Preminger produce, but assigned Ruben Mamoulian, director of The Mark of Zorro, to direct. But Zanuck hated Mamoulian's early footage and reluctantly let Preminger take over, using a more subtle style to bring Vera Casperi's bestseller to life. Preminger immediately got rid of the huge living room portrait of Laura that Mamoulian's wife had painted. It's seen throughout the film and is almost a character itself. Preminger replaced it with an enlarged black and white photograph of Gene Tierney, who played New York advertising executive Laura Hunt. The photo looked like a painting after oil paint brush strokes were applied, creating a look of mystery. While staring at the painting, Detective Mark McPherson, Dana Andrews, falls in love with the ghostly Laura, whose murder in her elegant apartment is why he's there late at night to investigate. As he drinks her scotch and reads her love letters and diaries, we hear the unforgettable theme Laura, composed in just one weekend by David Raxon. Preminger was going to use Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Lady, as there was so little time left to do the music. Raxon got the job because Fox's music director Alfred Newman, who wrote the studio's opening drum roll theme, didn't have time to score Laura, and Bernard Herrmann, who scored Citizen Kane, had said no. Raxon's theme had no words, but when moviegoers started asking for them, Fox hired star lyricist Johnny Mercer to write some. Among many casting twists and turns, Zanuck wanted John Hodiak or George Sanders as McPherson. Preminger chose Andrews, who made the role his own. Zanuck picked Laird Krieger as newspaper columnist Waldo Lydecker, but Preminger insisted on Clifton Webb after seeing him in a New York touring production of Blythe's Spirit. He convinced Zanuck that because Krieger was well known for playing villains, casting him would send a signal to moviegoers. Fox's first choice for Laura was Jennifer Jones, who turned it down. Rosalind Russell thought the part wasn't big enough. Tierney didn't want to do it either, but she had contract obligations to Fox that left her no choice. Later on, Hedy Lamarr, who also had passed on playing Laura, explained why, saying, "They sent me the script, not the score." And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another box office autopsy next week. In Hollywood for Screendollars, I'm Martin Grove.